start out. Let's just start by talking about what was happening in the city of Anderson before the pandemic hit.
That's a good question. I think probably the biggest thing for us is that we were doing the midst of the prelude to the pandemic. We were trying to get financing for the parking garage, and obviously we used a combination of money that we had saved, obviously, and had to go on the open market to finance the rest of it. And as I look back, we remember sitting back at the closing, and our banker said he just got an email from his boss, said this is the last deal that you're gonna do for a while. And so we probably were within 2 weeks of not being able to finance a parking garage that was essential for the hotel. So fast forward. So the hotel and the parking garage are on schedule. Everybody still thinks that it'll be ready the first quarter of next year. And so, to say that during the midst of the pandemic, when a lot of things from a capital projects point of view kind of shut down, we were able to conclude both of those projects during this current pandemic.
Remind people how those two projects will, when completed, will really impact downtown.
I think in a couple different ways, and I'll talk just for the vibe of a downtown area with a nearly 100-room hotel downtown. And so from a Monday through Friday, if we get the economy back going and business travelers, a lot of times during the course of a week, that's what sustains small businesses, restaurants, retailers doing in the city. And then, of course, over the weekend, when you have other Andersonians coming out, for the weekend, I think one of the things that we see is that it just gives a shot in the arms to our retailers in the central business district. The second thing, I think it helps events. The hotel is positioned across the street from the Blakely station, and so one could have a wedding at the Blakely Inn, maybe have a reception at the Blakely station, and everybody in the wedding party can stay right across the street at the hotel. And so that just when you have a 80 some odd room hotel and you multiply that by a couple, 2 or 3 people and guests, and all of a sudden you put a lot more people downtown in your central business district.
Were there other projects that were affected by the virus that were
Sure. Yeah.
slowed down?
Yeah. We pedestrian and bike trail, the extension of Lindley Park was slowed. But having said that, we were still thinking to a point that if we could get everything going this fall as far as financing, and so we've had to somewhat step back from that project and wait for the availability of lending to start. Our financial folks seem to think that'll be soon, so I don't see a big delay. But that was something that was pretty much engineered and ready to go this fall, but we had to step back on that.
What about how did the coronavirus impact city services, employees, those kind of things this year?
Uh, in a lot of different ways, just like any organization, we had people on our team who got the virus, and family members got the virus, and so we had to institute, just like everybody, to work from home and not having everybody come in at one time, and so we had to phase a lot of that. Obviously, with a city, you still have to do fire, police, and pick up trash. So I think people had to adjust to that. in regards to that. We found ourselves in the midst of the whole idea of the how do we protect our citizens? Will it come from a statewide mandate to wear masks to local mandates? And so we found ourselves in the midst of having to, and we went from a resolution to an ordinance on masks in certain areas, retail, grocery stores, and several different categories, beauticians, barbershops. And so that was another way that the pandemic affected us, because we had to make some decisions that were, 50% of the people said yeah and 50% who said no. So, but we felt like it was the best thing to do for our community from a safety point of view.
How do you think people have responded since then? Is it since that it was passed and people are doing it now? Have most people been okay with going forward? Do you think it's protected?
I think so. I think so. I talk a lot about the eyeball test. And if I go pick up my mail at the post office, at the main post office, I see more and more people after we did the ordinance that have their mask on than not. When you look at grocery stores and places that you go, we think it helped. And and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'll be glad when we stop having to wear them. And I think we all as a community have gotten mask fatigue, and I get that. I can't tell you in the last 30, 60 days how many times I've gotten out of my car and turned around after about 20 steps and said I forgot my mask. And so, but I'm convinced that the vaccine's out there. I think we have to be patient for the vaccine and let that process work, and hopefully, we need to protect our citizens again during the course, I think, of the next 6 months or so.
Have there been any lessons learned during the pandemic that will be helpful after the pandemic? Things y'all figured out how to do differently or change ways of doing? Is there anything y'all have learned that might be helpful going forward?
Yeah, I think we obviously we had to have a better hand on helping each other, the teamwork part of it, because we at times had less people doing things than usually. And so I do think the whole aspect of depending on each other to do certain things just because of the virus made us stronger.
A lot of things had to be postponed, changed. Sport, recreation stuff. Of course, the block party, the Christmas tree lighting. What other kind of things did the city try to do to engage people since those events were gone?
Well, I would let's talk about Christmas. I mean, I told myself that I would never cancel another Christmas parade when we canceled one several years ago when it was sleeting and we were the Grinch who stole Christmas. But during the course of the pandemic, and our Christmas parade, as you know, I mean, we end up having a lot of people, and we just couldn't get our hands around doing that. Now, having said that, our administration and their folks said, how can we make it better? And so I hope people would notice the extra lights, Carolina Wren Park. We're still able to do ice skating. As you know, we had a different type of Christmas tree lighting, but we got creative and put that in a different aspect. But events had to be canceled. We are talking about how do we do our MLK event this year. And we've seen, and I've been involved in some pretty creative ways of how people are doing it virtual and that type of participation. And so we'll see. But I do think, and it was missed. I mean, the block party was missed this year. The splash pad was missed this year, and sporting events. So I think it did take a a toll. Probably the whole aspects of gatherings took a toll, but hopefully we'll get through it and come out better for it.
And I remember we talked last year, recreation had been really growing. I guess this slowed that down a little bit this year.
It did. I mean, we as far as counseling, I mean, youth sports, and being careful about how you react to. We had to close our rec center, for a period of time, and so people notice those type of things, and people are anxious to get back, even in our rec center. A lot of seniors use people who look like me use our rec center, and we have to be careful. We had to be careful in regards to the spread of the virus.
We mentioned the hotel and the parking garage. Are there any other building projects going on downtown people might not know about?
Yeah, we are about to add our third microbrewery in the old Bobby Johnson Grocery, and that's a project that came together very quick. We will narrow the streetscapes from right in front of Apple Dumpling. Well, no, the old Den restaurant, the Antique. And so our plan is to take that 4-lane section and go 2 lanes to Calhoun and have a streetscape there. The old Jack's Restaurant's Den, that's being proposed for retail on the bottom, whatever that looks like, with residential living on the top floor of that. And also if you notice, the old taxi cab on the corner of the gas station is no longer there, and so there will be a restaurant there. We keep that feature of that gas station, so the station won't look any different than it does now, but it will house a restaurant. So all of a sudden we have they tell us that when you get more than 3 breweries or more, it becomes a destination. In places, I'm amazed at how many breweries in Asheville and Greenville, and so we're excited about that.
Are you hearing a lot more people wanting to move downtown, live downtown?
Yeah, we're 100% occupied, and and I think if we get the development to where whatever that looks like, if it's apartments, if it's more condominiums, the old Palmetto building on Murray Street is those. We have some developers from Charleston who have acquired that building. They've done a lot of residential construction, and those I think will be, I want to say it's, Greg, it might be 25, 26 units, somewhere in that neighborhood of 30 units. So, and it's a great old building. And so again, that puts another 25 or so families downtown. And so I do think we have the capability of having more people live downtown. We just have to, and it's encouraging when outside developers come in now and from other areas, and they're saying, okay, this is a hot market. So I think going forward in the next year or two, you'll see more residential development.
All right, as we kind of end the year up and head into next year, what else do citizens need to know about the city of Anderson? What's going on? What big things are coming up in 2021? Anything else you want to?
We just want to, make our, continue with the momentum and continue to have the quality of life things that drive urban areas. We're growing. People have found the upstate of South Carolina. There are 1.2 million people in the region, and Anderson is we're still directly in the middle of Charlotte and Atlanta and Birmingham and Raleigh. So this part of the country will continue to grow. We want to grow smart. We want to keep our small town feel. We want to protect our central business district. We want to protect other residential areas, and so we'll continue to do those things. Anderson is still a very good place to raise a family. We'll continue to promote those aspects of the quality of life, and the future is bright.